Right, good morning all. Thank you for joining today's session on Apex. I'll give you a cool name for it in a second, but we've got a really packed agenda today. And by the way, there's a lot of attendees still joining, so I'll try and talk a bit slower just to do the intro. We've got two senior product managers with us today, Chaitanya and Toufiq. I hope I haven't butchered your names. Bear with me if you have. Who will be presenting, and by the way, as always, on these sessions, doing a live demo. So without further delay, I'll pass you over to two main dudes on the show, Chai and Toufiq. Over to you, dudes, and best of luck on your demo.
Thank you, Tom. Let me share my screen. So let me quickly introduce myself and Toufiq today. So I'm Chaitanya. I'm a product manager on the Oracle Apex product development team. I head the JPAC product management for Oracle Apex, and together with me is Toufiq on my team. Both of us are going to talk about what's new in Apex 22.2 today. On the screen, you see my as well as Toufiq's Twitter handle. So please feel free to reach out to us on Twitter or LinkedIn or other social media for any questions on Apex or Apex 22.2 or Apex and autonomous database or Apex and OCI in general. So now let's get started. The first thing I would like to showcase here is the IDC survey spotlight. On the screen, you see the question that we posed by the IDC in the survey. Which tools do enterprises predominantly prefer for low-code, no-code application development? And the survey results shows over 25% of the 1,022 enterprises that the survey was passed on to indicated they predominantly utilize Apex today or would be likely to use in the next 24 months. So Apex stands at top one and the world's most popular enterprise low-code platform for application development. And then before actually getting started with the new features, let me also introduce you to the new learning path from the Apex product development team, Apex Foundations learning path. So we released this around first week of October, and there has been a significant uptake of the learning path so far. Basically, this learning path is aimed at for those beginners or for citizen developers, for LOBs, or someone interested in low-code application development, and what exactly is Apex and OCI. So you'll be covering the entire fundamentals of low-code app dev with Apex, and it includes 3.5-hour expert training delivered directly by the Apex product management team, and the course is for free completely from Oracle University. So I would highly recommend to take this learning path and also pass on this information to your colleagues or someone getting started with Apex. So the link available here, and I would also request my colleagues to pass on the link, the URL in the chat window, apex.oracle.com/go/foundations. And once you take this learning path, basically you'll be awarded a badge. So what you see on the screen is the badge Apex Foundations. We request you to share your badge on social media and tag us using Oracle Apex, #Oracle Apex. And apart from this, what's coming up next? This Foundations learning path at the moment is available on Oracle University, but we also have plans to make this one available on LinkedIn Learning and Coursera in the coming days. And the next learning path in sequence is the Apex Developer Professional learning path, which will be released probably a couple of weeks from now. And this one will be having an associated certification. The certification, what you see right now, will be available as an updated version, and that will be tagged along with the Apex Developer Professional learning path. Now, with that information, let's move on to the actual topic, what's new in Apex 22.2. So if you want to try out the new features of Apex 22.2, you can go through the free evaluation instance, apex.oracle.com. You can also sign up for the cloud free trial. You can sign up for Apex service on OCI, and you can try out the new features over there. You can also download Apex 22.2 from OTN and install it and try out the new features. So highly recommend to test the new features. So what are we going to cover today, and what's new in Apex 22.2 basically? A lot of new functionality, a lot of new and updated components, PWA and user experience, progressive web application and user experience. And we'll also be covering developer experience today and some additional features. We'll also touch base on the JavaScript library upgrades. So I would recommend you to sign up for the free trial, free cloud trial, and have your Apex instance set up and service set up, and then try out the new features. So let's get started with the new functionality first. What is there as part of the new functionality? The first one is the application search. So Apex 22.2 introduced a new declarative search functionality, which searches for matches in multiple data sources. Basically, it displays data from multiple data sources, the relevant searches, in a single unified search results region. So this has been a long pending request, and we finally introduced in Apex 22.2 a new search engine style functionality. Then how does this work? This works because of a new shared component called search configurations, which defines the data source to be searched for and the way results should be displayed. You can define which data source should be searched for and how the results can be displayed for you. And the data is searched. Which data is searched? The data can be from the local database tables, can be from Apex list, REST-enabled SQL service, or REST data sources. The search region can be configured with one or more search configurations and will display results in a single cell. So you don't need to worry that, I can only have one such search configuration, but you can have multiple search configurations attached to your search region. And also, it leverages the search functionality, basically leverages Oracle text for linguistic and fuzzy search capabilities. So on the screen, you see a quick screenshot of how the search works, but let's quickly go to apex.oracle.com and see how this works. Let me just quickly, I think I need to stop my share and share again. Just sharing it again. Stop. So please do let me know if you don't see my screen. All right. So I'm signing into apex.oracle.com quickly. I already have an application, so let me go ahead and use an application. Go to App Builder. And there, let me go to the search demo application. Just an empty application at this point of time. So go to shared components. I would like to actually utilize search configurations where I'll be letting the search happen on the local data as well as the REST data sources. Okay. So here you see under navigation and search, there is search configurations. So let's click this one first. And then you can now click create. Let's create a search configuration. So it's a new shared component that has been introduced, which utilizes the different data sources. So let's give it a name, for example, search one or whatever name. And the search type can be standard, Oracle text, or list. So let's stick to the standard search type. And then you see there are data sources that you can utilize: local, REST-enabled SQL service, or REST data source. So we are now defining this the source of the search to be a local table. And then for table, let's pick up a table. Let's pick up tasks table, which is already there, and then click next. Okay. Now you can set a primary ID column. You have a title column here. For description, you can set up a description, for example. You can just choose task name. For icon source, you can choose initials or icon class. Let's click here and pick up something for the icon class. Let's see, for example, tasks. So let's pick up this one and then click create search configuration. So I'm trying to create two different search configuration and utilize that in my search page. So on the screen, you see all of the attributes that you can set: settings, subscription, and so on. And in the searchable columns, you have varchar as well as number date. So notice that only varchar columns are the searchable columns for you. And you can also define the column mapping here. You can change them what you have already defined. And you can also, turn on, you can also enter some no results found message. For example, nothing found. If no results found, nothing found, something like that. Okay. And then can make all of the changes and say apply changes. So one search configuration is set now. Now I also have a REST data source in my application here. So let's go to the REST data sources. Scroll down a bit. I have, I believe, the IMDb, the movie's REST data source defined. So let me define a search configuration on top of this. So go to search configurations again. And this time, let me create one. Now we defined one on the local. Let me create one more. This time, search to standard again. Click next. And then this time I'm going to click REST data source. I'm going to pick up the REST data source movies, which I have already created. I'm sure most of you know how to create REST data source and adjust the parameters and stuff like that. So primary column, let me select ID, and title column, let me select title. This is from the movies database, basically. And then overview. And for icon class, let me just pick up something. Do we have films? Yes. So yeah, let's pick up one. Let's pick up this one, and then let's create search configuration. Okay. So I'm not going to do any other changes, but let's say apply changes. So now we have two search configurations set. So now I go to the application. There's a new page that you can create. Click create page here. And then you see here search page. So let me click the search page and now define the search page. My search or something like that. And then you see two search configurations. Like remember we discussed in the slide that you can have multiple search configurations. So I'm selecting both of them and then click create page. Let's see if this works. Okay, now the page has been created. Now let me run the page now. Okay, now let me just search for something like project, for example. Now it is picking up, for example, the local data, software projects tracking from the table, from the task table. It is also picking up that from the search from Avatar, Titanic, and which is defined from the movies database REST data source. You see. So multiple search configurations have been attached, and you have the search functionality implemented within your application. Well, this is all about quick demonstration about your application search functionality introduced with Apex 22.2. Now let's move on to the next one. Invoke API processes. So Apex 22.2 introduces a new invoke API page level process type, which allows for the execution of procedures and functions completely declaratively, and you don't need to define any PL/SQL code, no manual PL/SQL coding anymore, and this is completely declarative submission for you. So on the screen, you see how we define. We'll come to that. So what happens when you create an invoke API? The page designer will automatically preset all of the parameters for you and map them to matching page items, or if available, interactive grid columns. This invoke API process that new, for example, you see here, all the parameters have been preset automatically by the page designer. And this invoke API process type is completely PL/SQL data type aware. Like for example, number, date, timestamp, boolean, clause, blob, and also supports complex data types like PL/SQL records, for example. The output of parameters or functions can be stored in page items. So this makes life easy for a developer. So completely declarative invoke API page level process type introduced in Apex 22.2 for you. Now with this, I would like to pass on to Toufiq, who will be discussing new and updated components in Apex 22.2 and also the remaining new features in Apex 22.2. Over to you, Toufiq.
You're unmuted.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Let me share my screen. Indeed, Invoke API and application search are definitely great additions to the existing suite of features we have in Apex. In this next leg of session, I'll be talking about new and updated components. So the first component I'll be talking about is the approvals component. Approvals component has been introduced in 22.1, using which you can create workflow capabilities in your Apex applications. In Apex 22.2, we have some new features like due-on types, for example. So you can define a due-on date to be coming from an SQL statement or function body. You can also define expiration policy, which tells what should happen to your task once it passes past the due date. In the task definition actions, you also have the flexibility to define what kind of action logging you need. Sometimes you don't want all the action logging that the Apex engine is producing, right? So here you get the flexibility to define when should the Apex engine log history. Not just that, we also exposed a PL SQL API so that you can declaratively add logs to the task history log. In addition, we also have introduced many other events, new events like before expire and expire events, wherein you can define what should happen, or if you want to run a logic when the task expires, you can do that as part of the new events. And there are some new capabilities that we have introduced in the task details page, like request information, wherein the owner or the approver can request for new information if that information is not available. And then the owner or the initiator can submit this new information. We also have functionalities like change due date, invite participant, wherein the business administrator can change the due date or invite new participants who are not part of the task definition to act on that task. We also have renew and cancel task features. Let's see this in action. Let me stop sharing my PPT. So for this demonstration, I'll be using the sample approvals application. You can install this from the gallery. So first I will start with showing you the task definition. You can find task definition under shared components. Here under the workflow and automations, you can find all the defined task definitions. In this, I already have laptop request as one of the task definitions, which drives the workflow wherein you request a laptop and it goes through the workflow process. So coming to the new features that we added in 22.2 is this deadline region. Here, as you can see, earlier you only could define one type, that is the interval, but now you can define the due-on type based on SQL query, function body, or PL SQL expressions. You can also define the due-on type based on DBMS scheduler expressions, which is what is selected right now. So this expression tells that the deadline is 2 minutes after the creation of the task. This is just to make the demonstration easy. In a real world scenario, this would be a lot higher, right? The deadline would be maybe a couple of days. We also have the feasibility to define expiration policy. Here you can define what should happen when the task goes beyond the due date. So in earlier versions, the default was none. So that means you can always go and approve a task which has gone past the due date. But in this new release, you can define what should happen to the task. For example, you can make the task expire once it goes past the due date by using the expire option. And using the renew option, you can auto renew the task. So when you select the renew option, it will create a new task in the form of a renewal. And if the option is renew, you can also define how many times you want to renew this task. So the maximum limit is 99. Here I have selected 2. So a given task will be renewed 2 times before it gets expired. Other than that, we also have, as I said, new actions. So to see that, let me open action, add action window. Here you define different actions that should happen on a particular event. So we have added new events like before expire and expire. and also request information and submit information. These events are fired when someone, for example, the request information event will fire when the approver requests for more information on the given task. So you can, as I said, you can also define when something should be logged. So earlier, Apex Engine would, in the earlier versions, Apex Engine would log everything, but now you can define to log only when the task is successful, only when there is a failure, or always. So you have complete flexibility to define what kind of logging you want to see in your task history. Not just that, we also have exposed an PL SQL API. I'll just write it down here. For example, before expiring the task, if you want to log something to the task history, you have something called apex_approval .add_history as the PL SQL API that is exposed, which takes a varchar to string. You can just write event is about to expire, and this gets logged into the task history. A typical use case of before expire event would be for you to not execute code, but a typical real world scenario would be for you to send an email as a reminder, right? That is a typical use case of before expire. You also have other events for you to explore. Now let us see other improvements we have got in the approvals component in the unified task list on the end page. So in this demo, I'll be showing you the laptop request use case. So here I have multiple employees. So I'm logged in as Pat. Let me log in as Bo, who will be the initiator. Pat is the administrator. So I have logged in as Bo, and here I'm going to my employees screen and I'm going to request a new laptop for Blake. So I can just click on laptop, and so I have now requested a laptop for Blake. And if I go under my request, this new request is logged, as you can see. In this page, we have also made available a checkbox wherein you can see all the expired tasks as well. And once you click on the particular task, the task definition page opens up, wherein you can see who is the initiator, who is the next owner. Here you also have the option to cancel the task. This is a new option, and the task history, which gets logged here. Now let us go and log in as Jane to see what the approver sees. Now I have logged in as Jane. For Jane, under pending up or my approvals, Jane can see this new request coming in from Bo. And here, if required, Jane, because we have this new functionality called request information, Jane can now request for new information. Like how old is your laptop, for example, and request this information. And now the task is removed under my approvals and it is again assigned to Bo. Log out and log in as Bo to see that there is a request for more information for her task. And under my request, I can see that the status is information requested. I can go ahead as Bo and provide, I can see the comment made, which is request for more information, and I can submit information here. For example, 4 years. So like this, the task can be moved from one owner to other owner in the form of requesting for more information. In the meantime, I have also mentioned that there is a new functionality called invite participant that is available for business administrator. So if required, the business administrator can also invite more participants. In the task definition, we have seen that this particular task has, let me show you, Pat as the business administrator, and the potential owner is being calculated in the form of an expression coming from a PL SQL package. So if I go and see pending approvals as Pat, who is a business administrator, I can see this request coming from Blake, which is now on Jane. I can invite a participant like Steve and make him the owner. for example. So this is how you can invite a new participant as a business administrator. So that's about approvals. All right, let me get back to the presentation. So the next topic we have is new date picker. Date picker item in Apex 22.2 has been reimagined and revamped to be a web component. So in earlier releases of Apex engine, we used jQuery and Jet libraries to render date picker items. In 22.2, these dependencies are shelved, making date picker native to Apex, thereby making it lightweight and improving performance. All the capabilities you got with old Jet date picker will also be seen in the new date picker, but with some enhanced accessibility and performance and some new features as well. For example, you can declaratively have a today button in the date picker, which selects the current date. As I mentioned earlier, this is developed as a web component. So if you want to change any client-side behavior of the date picker, you can do so directly by using HTML attributes instead of making complicated JavaScript calls. Also, the accessibility of the date picker is enhanced. You can use keyboard navigation keys to select a date without while filling a huge form. You don't have to switch from keyboard to mouse to use a date picker item because this new date picker conforms with the ARIA APG standards. You can select a date without just using the keyboard navigation keys without having to switch to mouse. Let's have a quick demo of this new date picker. Let me switch back to my browser. Let me sign in again. So date picker item has 3 display options that you're seeing on screen. One is the pop-up, wherein as soon as you focus on the item, the date picker item opens up, the date picker pop-up opens up, and you can select a date. The same pop-up also opens up when you click on the icon. The second display option is the inline display option, wherein the date picker item is rendered as inline. This inline option has an additional clear button wherein you get the feasibility to clear the selected date. And the third option is the native date picker display option, wherein this is more suitable for mobile devices and gives greater accessibility in mobile devices. Not just that, the date picker also has improved accessibility in a modal dialog. So in the earlier versions, which used Jet date picker, as you can see, when the date picker is opened, it gives you a scroll bar to show you the complete viewport of the pop-up dialog. However, the new date picker renders on top of the existing modal dialog, giving you access to select a date. That is a great improvement. And then I would also like to explain some of the features you get in the date picker, new date picker. As I mentioned earlier, you can select a date and you can also navigate to other dates using the keyboard. Not working right now. So yeah, you can select and navigate to different dates. For example, years you can select using your keyboard, and then you can use tab key to go and navigate to different months and years. And you also have an option to show time information in your date picker, as you can see here, and also the today button. These are all declarative and you can always turn them on and off. And you also have the feasibility to select how many months you want to show. For example, here I'm showing 3 or 2 months. And you can also select what kind of pagination you want when you click on next. Coming to min and max dates, you can also specify a minimum date and a maximum date. There are 2 ways you can specify a min date. One is static way, wherein you just hard code this particular date. As you can see, the hard coded date is 7th of November, and you can't go beyond that date. The other dates are not selectable. You can also dynamically provide a max date using the plus 3D or plus 5 weeks option syntax. So for example, here I have given plus 3D, which means only the next 3 days are available for selection and the other dates are not selectable. And dynamically, you can also specify a maximum date based on the value in other item. For example, this particular page item has dependency on this page item. Now here I have selected 3rd November as the max date. So if I go here, I can see only 3rd November is selected, is available for selection. Beyond that, the dates are all not available. So if I go and change this to some other day like 25th, or this, we select something which we can see. I select November 24th, and if I come back, I don't have to refresh the page for this to be in effect. This is on the fly, changes the maximum value you can see on the client side. So these are some of the functions you see, some of the features you see in the new date picker. All these are controllable from the component settings. So in the date picker application, if you go to component settings and you can select date picker, here you can see different options you have. For example, if you want to show the ISO week, you can select this option, apply changes and refresh the page here. And you can see the ISO week numbers displayed. And some of the other options we have here are month picker. If you don't want to show the month picker, which you see here, you can deselect these two, for example. And you can also define the behavior of days outside month. So right now, all the days outside the month, which you see 1, 2, 3 here, the dates December 1, 2, 3 are not selectable, but they're visible. So that is being driven by this particular setting. You can also make them selectable or hidden. Let me make them hidden and show you how that works. As you can see, the dates are hidden. So all these settings are configurable from the component settings. And if you want to have these settings particular to a given component, you can also do that in Page Designer at the component level. For example, I have this page and I don't want to have all the items. I don't want all the items to have same settings. So I can just quickly edit this particular page and go to the page item. Here, when I have use defaults, it will use the component settings. I can simply turn this off and give independent settings on this particular item. For example, I want to show week, days outside should be hidden. I can also show item focus. I can also have the paginate months option, wherein, as I said, you can paginate the number of months by multiple months. For example, I select 3 months here, multiple months, and if I have the paginate by multiple months selected, so this item will show 3 months. And when you click on next, it will go to the next 3 months. That's how the pagination works. These are some of the cool features we have in date picker. We can also do more. What you see is just a page item, but this is also applicable for the interactive grid. So in the interactive grid, when you have a date picker, all the features which I have shown you in the form of page item are also applicable for interactive grids. The accessibility, and you can also show today date and also show time, etc. And the next topic in date picker is switching modes. As I have explained earlier, this is developed as a web component. Let me show you in detail what this means. So a date picker is actually a web component which is rendered using a minus date minus picker column. So if you see here, display as, as pop-up. If you just change it to inline, it will be rendered as inline. So that is what is being done here. So when I click on inline, dynamically without having to render the entire component, you can, using simple attribute manipulation, you can change from pop-up to inline to native date picker. So that's the power of the web component and the date picker. Additionally, you can also have formatting on individual dates. So we have exposed a day formatter JavaScript function. I'll show that to you in a while. For example, if I want to disable weekdays, which is Sunday and Saturday, just type. And you can see this is on the fly disabled. And you can also add specific classes to the date picker to specific dates. And you can also have a tooltip like this. Now, if I hover on this, you can see the tooltip coming. So how is this done? Let me quickly show you on the page. So we are exposing day formatter JavaScript API. Something like this. So you can use this JavaScript API to define what logic you want to apply on each date. So this runs through each date that is available in the date picker, and it determines for each date whether it should be disabled or not, what classes it should have, and what is the tooltip that that particular date should have. You can write your own logic here to add these cosmetic updates on your date picker. That's all about date picker. You can explore more on the apex.oracle.com evaluation instance. The next topic in line is the dynamic content region. So in the older releases, we had a region type called PL/SQL dynamic content, using which you can output HTML to your page based on PL/SQL logic. But it had some limitations, like it can't be refreshed. So if your PL/SQL logic, which is rendering specific HTML output, happens to render a different output, maybe because of updates by some other users, in order for this region to show the new output, you would have to refresh the entire page. And that is a limitation. Also, there was no possibility to have lazy loading, right? So this new dynamic content region now is refreshable and supports lazy loading. So you can also leverage this new dynamic content to use MLE feature of database 21C and above. And you can use JavaScript to render HTML in this particular, not just JavaScript, I mean server-side JavaScript you can use to render output on your page using this dynamic content. A point to note here is that when you use dynamic content, earlier you used PL/SQL code and you might have used http.p package to render content, but now this dynamic content, you can't use HTTP package. Instead, this expects you to return a cloud or varchar2. The HTML which you want to render on this page, on this region, should be in the form of varchar2 or cloud, and it should come from a PL/SQL function. So that's the only difference. Let me show you a quick demo of this region as well. We go back to Page Designer. So in this page, I have both PL/SQL dynamic content as well as dynamic content. In the PL/SQL dynamic content, what I'm doing is I'm just looping through the EMP table and printing out all the employees. I'm also printing the system date. The same is also true for dynamic content, but here I'm not using http.p package. Instead, I am concatenating all the output to a CLOB string, CLOB variable, and that is getting returned here. Now, if I run this page, you can see the difference of what this new region is. So as you can see here, the first region is not refreshable. Even though I click on refresh, the state is not changing. Whereas the second region, which is the new dynamic content region, when I refresh, it gets refreshed automatically. So that is one enhancement. And also in this new region, you can also specify this region to be lazy loaded. So that means if this particular PL/SQL logic is taking time. It is not perform, and it takes time to load. Instead of making the entire page wait for this region to load, you can make it lazy loading enabled, which means this particular region loads after the entire page has loaded, thereby giving enhanced user experience. For example, as you can see, it loads after the entire page has loaded in the form of a separate AJAX call. That is about dynamic content. We also have CLOP support for page items. So in the earlier versions, there was a limitation that the session state of every page item can only be 32K bytes or characters. But in 22.2, the page item's session state now supports CLOP data type. So this item attribute session state is applicable for any kind of page item like text area, display only, hidden, rich text editor, markdown editor, etc. And computations, validations, source, region source, default processes. Wherever you find PL/SQL code in Apex Page Designer, they are all updated to support CLOP data types coming in. And when you use bind variables, let's say you defined a page item as CLOP data type, and then when you use that particular bind variable in your process, that bind variable will be of type CLOP. And in the older versions, you might have used vof function, right, to get the session state, or you would have used apex_util.get session state. In order to get the value of this CLOP page item, we have created a new PL/SQL API called apex session state.get CLOP, using which you can retrieve the CLOP value. I'll quickly show you where you can set this CLOP session state. So let me go back to this application. So if you have a page item in your application, so that we have added a new property group called session state. Here you can select the data type for this particular page item. So that is about CLOP. Moving on. Okay, let me go to the next slide. The next set of features are about PWA, mobile and user experience. Ever since its introduction into Apex, PWA has been a major hit among Apex developers. So I'll just briefly tell you what PWA is. With PWA, you can install your web application onto mobile or desktop devices as progressive web apps. These installed applications then sit alongside your native mobile or desktop applications and gives you a similar look and feel or user experience as native applications. So in 22.2, PWA has got some cool new features like feature detection. You can in the earlier versions, all the web browsers showed install PWA option, but not all browsers support install PWA option. Some browsers do not support. So in that cases, we asked the user intuitively to use a different browser, but in 22.2, the PWA engine is capable enough of detecting which browsers support and which browsers don't. And in the case of browsers where it is not supported, the PWA install option is disabled or it's not shown. And we also have a provision to provide app screenshots, making the installation more interesting. You also have option to define app shortcuts. So if you see your Android applications, when you long press on a particular application, you get quick actions, right? You get quick actions into the application features. Similarly, you can define quick actions in your PWA application using app shortcuts. Under dynamic actions, we have also introduced two dynamic actions. One is get current position dynamic action, which can be used to fetch the current position in the GeoJSON format or latitude and longitude format. And we also have a new dynamic action called share, using which you can share files, content on the user's device. And this share option uses the device's share tray. So for example, if you're on Instagram and when you want to share that particular post with your friends, what you do, you click on share, and that takes you to, that provides you with various apps you have in your device, which can be used to share this particular post, right? Similarly, you have this share dynamic action, which uses your device's share tray to share information from your PWA to other applications or other devices. As part of PWA story, we have also provided a way to declaratively provide meta tags to your applications. So meta tags helps in listing your particular web page on Google search, as well as when you share a particular link on Twitter or in your Slack or Microsoft Teams, you get a preview of that application, right? So that is driven by meta tags. I'll show that in demo. So let me go and start PWA demo. So in this demo, I'll be creating a new application. Nothing has changed in creation of application. You just create a demo application. And I click install progressive web app option and create this application. Now with this application turned on, so let me run this application. This has authentication. Let me make it public for the ease of demonstration. I'll quickly create as you can see, this install app option is available here because Chrome supports install app option. But when I open the same URL in Firefox, which does not support PWA installations, you won't find that install app option. So that is an improvement. Moving back to Chrome. So also, let me show you in the emulator how this looks like. Let me copy this particular. So in the emulator, you can see the install app is available here. This is an iOS emulator. And once I click on install, this is pretty boring, right? I'm getting a standard install this app. Wouldn't it be nice if I can show some screenshots? So that is possible using app screenshots option. So for that, I can go to shared components, progressive web app. Here now you have an option to add more screenshots. You can add a screenshot, click on add screenshot and upload a screenshot. So I'm uploading these screenshots. For demonstration, I'll add 3 screenshots. So these screenshots will be screenshots of your PWA application, which gives user what exactly this app is doing. I'll also define an app description. Something like this, and save. Once I have defined these screenshots and app description, I will open my emulator again and refresh the page. Now, when I try to install the application, you can see this particular description coming in. The screenshots are taking time to load. Now you can see the screenshots also are loaded because this is emulator working on Wi-Fi. It's not so fast, but this is how funky your installations now look because of use of app screenshots. Then when you click on next, that's when you get the standard install instructions. This is one improvement you have with Apex 22.2 in PWA. Additionally, you can also define shortcuts. So for that, a prerequisite is that you should have rejoin sessions activated in your application. And then let me activate that. Now I can define new shortcuts. So for example, I'll define a shortcut for search. I call it search. And I'll be creating one more shortcut watch. With this shortcuts created, now if I run this application, for example, here on desktop, okay, I'm not getting. For some reason I'm not getting, let me open. Now, once I refresh these and once I install this application, this is iOS, but typically on Android device, once you install this application, it asks to share, you can add it to your home screen. And now this is iOS, so I won't be able to show you the shortcuts. But once you, if this is an Android application, once you right click, you will be able to see the shortcuts which we have defined here in the shortcuts section. And the important point here is you can also define a target. So once you have the application installed, you can, and when you click on this particular shortcut, that will navigate you directly to that target URL which you have specified here. So that is about shortcuts. Now coming to the dynamic actions we have in PWA. Now I got this, so let me install this and show you. So these shortcuts work on desktop applications as well as Android applications, but not on iOS. So once I have these PWA installed and I right click, you can see search and watch shortcuts coming. Now, if I click on search, it navigates to that particular page because I have defined target URL as 1. You are navigated to page number 1. So that is about shortcuts. Good that we got a chance to see the demo as well. Now, let me show you the dynamic actions that we have introduced in 22.2 as part of this PWA story. So we have 2 dynamic actions. One is on the click of a button, for example, you have an action called get current position and share. So for this, let me create a button. On the click of this button, I'll be adding get current position, and here I can have a page item as well. And once I have this, you can define page item here. So what this does, let me only. Once I run this page, okay, once I click on this particular, this is opening in PWA. So once I click on this particular button, as you can see, the GeoJSON data is coming in. So to make this work, to get the GeoJSON work, you need not have a map region in this particular page. This is a dynamic action which is independent of any maps region. So you can declaratively get the current position in the form of GeoJSON into a particular item using this dynamic action. There are other options. You can also get latitude and longitude. When you select this option, you need to provide 2 page items which stores the latitude and longitude information. And let us also see, let us move this to body. Let me also show you how share dynamic action works. Create a button below and I call it share. And on this dynamic action, I'll be creating the share. So as part of the share dynamic action, you can specify the text which gets showed when that particular item is shared. Text. And you can also specify what is the share type. If you want to share the current page, you can specify the current page, then the URL to the current page will be shared. If you want to, you can also specify the URL if it's a different page. And more interestingly, you can also share files, right? So for example, I have a few files in this application, this workspace, which I can show how to share. So I have static workspace files, cute cat pics. So once I paste these URLs here, I can specify multiple URLs in new lines. So I'll be sharing 2 cat pics. And I click on save and delete this. So in Chrome, the share option does not work. So you won't see the share button at all. But once I go to Safari, for example, and let me paste the URL in Safari, where you have the option to share. So I see the share button. So once I click on share, now you can see it opens up the device specific share tray. Now you can share whatever you have defined in the page designer via mail or other options. So if I select mail, you can see the images which I have selected in the dynamic action here are shown directly in your mail. You don't have to point them via an URL or link. Directly the blob, the image is shown in the mail. That is the speciality of this share dynamic action. You can also specify the files as part of an SQL query. If you don't have the URLs, if you have these blobs stored in your database, you can specify the SQL query, something like this. And that still works just like how it worked right now. So that is about PWA updates. And one more update we have in PWA is the ability to define, let me delete this, the ability to define declarative meta tags. So for meta tags to work, the page should be public. So let me first make this page public. Page requires page is public. Now, once you make this page public, you get this advanced option of enable meta tags. Once you enable meta tags, you can define meta tags. So meta tags are used to give other third-party systems some information about your web page. For example, Google uses meta tags to get information. So whenever something is searched, which is matching this description, your page shows up in Google results. So that is how meta tags are used. Other use case is that when you share this particular applications or pages URL in Twitter or Facebook, it shows a preview of the web page. So that is driven by meta tags. For example, I'm giving a description to this meta tag. And I can add more. For example, we have provided you with some options as well. I'll be giving a description, for example. And yeah, maybe the title as well. So with this set, now if I run this page and copy the URL and open my Facebook, for example, click on create here, and if I paste my URL, you can see a preview card is being generated. This is being driven by the meta tags. It's taking some time. As you can see, this is title, this is description. This is all coming from what you have described in this meta tag. And it is only possible for public pages. So that is something we have introduced declaratively in Apex 22.2. Coming to other features. We have also introduced a new region template called item container, using which you can place your items seamlessly in a single row in universal theme. So earlier we had issues placing a page item next to a button. So whenever you place that, the button used to be misaligned. Using this new item container template, you can seamlessly align your page item and your buttons. And then we also have additional options now. Earlier, we only allowed buttons to be placed in the template options of create, edit, previous, and next. But now in 22.2, you can also place your page items in these template option positions. And then as part of universal theme update, we have also improved rendering performance of various components like tabs, region display selector, and other floating field labels. Coming to developer experience, the first one is landmark support. So under landmark support, we have provided a way for developers to declaratively specify what is a landmark role they want to have for a given region. In the earlier versions, this was only possible via template updates. So if you want to provide a landmark to a given region, you have to go and modify the template. But now in Apex 22.2, you can declaratively define what is the landmark role you want to specify to a given region. Developers will also have, via this special option, you can override the default landmarks that are specified in the region templates at the component level versus the region level. And we also have improved the toolbar, developer toolbar, to visualize different landmarks that are available. Let me quickly show you. So if I'm on this page, you can see different landmarks using show landmarks option. So the landmark role here is region, and landmark label here is PLC equal dynamic content. But if I want to have a different landmark label here, I can do that from this page. I can go to that particular region and under accessibility, I can define what is the role of this particular region depending on the type of content this region is hosting. And I can also provide a different name, which will not be the same as the title. Landmark test, for example. And once I save this and run this page, now this will have that landmark test. So I have successfully overridden the default behavior of landmark. So using this declarative option, you can have your own landmark labels defined. We have also some new enhancements in the dynamic actions region. Now you can also give names to your dynamic actions. Earlier, it was only possible to give a name to your dynamic action at the event level, but now a given event can have multiple actions, right? So each action can have its own custom name. That is the new feature. And we have also introduced something called declarative debouncing and throttling. So using which you can control the timing and frequency of when actions are fired, when an event is fired. You can control if you want to delay an action, if you want to throttle an action, you can do that using this new dynamic action enhancement. Additional updates and enhancements. So we have also some new enhancements in the text field region, text field item. This text field item is also, just like date picker, is now a web component, and it provides you more streamlined user experience. It supports icons and also cascading list of values. In the map region now supports vector layers on top of rasters, which we have already supported. With this vector layers, the maps will have improved display quality, especially when you want to load higher pixel density displays. You can use vector map tiles. Even the number field has got new updates, enhancements. So now when you have smartphones, you can tell the device which keyboard to show using the virtual keyboard attribute that is available in the page designer for number fields. We have also had some, we also have some calendar region updates. We updated the migration logic required for calendar regions. And the RT, rich text editor, also has got some new attributes for toolbar styling. And it also allows now to have custom HTML. So you can type custom HTML in your text editor, and that gets saved. And the template.
Toufiq, sorry to interrupt you, dude. I just want to let everybody know. We're probably about 5 minutes still to go on the presentation. So if you can hang around, I know we've got a huge number of people still in the call. So if you can hang around, please do. If also a final thing, there's a ton of questions after coming in. So what we'll do is we can follow some of them up on Slack if we've missed any. It's sometimes on Zoom chat, they can fly off the screen and we can miss them. So if you missed any, please post them on Zoom chat. Sorry, Toufiq, back over to you, dude.
I'm almost done. So the next enhancement we have is in the data generator region. So the data generator is also improved. Now you can you have the ability to set column and table sequences. You can rename blueprints. You have usability improvements to custom data sources and formulas, improved help text. So these are some enhancements you have. And now the Apex global search. So in Apex Page Designer, you had in the previous releases, you can directly use the Spotlight search to go to navigate to your desired page. So earlier it used to support app ID :page syntax, but now you can also go to your desired page using app alias :page syntax. And also you can also use regular expression to search using the Spotlight. The Apex LDAP package has also got some enhancements. So in the old releases, to use Apex LDAP, you need to provide credentials. And the only way to provide credentials was to hard code the username and password. But now Apex LDAP supports web credentials. So you can define a web credentials and use that and pass that web credential static ID as a parameter to Apex LDAP. Thereby, you don't have to hard code your passwords and username in the PL SQL packages. And also Apex escape function has got some improvements. Like we now fully support CLOG and the CSV. And we also have introduced strip HTML function, which can be used to escape special characters in HTML. So we also have some JavaScript upgrades. So all modern applications use variety of open source JavaScript libraries, but Apex abstracts these JavaScript libraries from developers so that developers do not have to code JavaScript. So all the libraries which we use, we update them time to time to keep in line with what are the latest releases available. So these are some of the upgrades we have with respect to JavaScript libraries. What all I presented is just a subset of the new features which we have released in Apex 22.2. If you want to learn more, explore these new features, you can always go and visit the links which you see on the screen. Not just that, we have also created small feature videos for you to get a hands-on experience of how these new features work and detailed explanation about these features. In the second link, it will navigate you to the YouTube channel which we have for Oracle Apex. As Chaitanya mentioned at the beginning of the session, you can always get your hands dirty with Apex 22.2 features on apex.oracle.com. You can sign up for a free workspace and test these new features. I hope you enjoy using these new features as much as we did developing them. Over to you, Tom.
With that, thanks everyone. Hopefully we've got most of the calls. As I said, if we haven't, feel free to join us over in the Slack channel. We'd love to see you over there. It's well worth joining. There's kind of 5,000 something, 6,000 people on it now. Also, if for those of you who can't, for whatever legal reasons, and there's a myriad of them, you can always contact us on the email if you need an answer to something. Toufiq, Chaitanya, I hope I've done that well, and Keisha, and the other lady who's off the screen, Apuvra. Thanks for answering all the questions. It was a busy morning. With that, if there's nothing further, I see there's a whole glass of stuff. And okay, it's just thanks. Okay. Okay, with that, what I'll do is I'll stop the session and bid you all have a great afternoon, wherever you may be, and look after yourselves. See you all next week, hopefully.